It looks like this year is going to be Konami's year, guys. They just released MGS Delta Snake Eater and now another new game. Neither of them is just a regular title, they're big titles. Hello everyone, welcome back to Top List, and this time I'm bringing you a review of one of the games I've been heavily anticipating this year. It's none other than Silent Hill F from Neobard Studio. A look at Silent Hill F. Even though I finished this game a bit tight on time, surprisingly, I was absolutely stunned by it in that short, tight frame time. So let's get straight into it. What's the game like? Did Silent Hill F manage to meet my expectations since the media preview I tried? Or is the game not much different from the build I played? Without further ado, let's begin the review, guys. Storyline and setting choice. Okay, I'll start with the storyline of this game first. Silent Hill F is set in the 1960s in the fictional town of Ibisuga in Japan. As I mentioned in my previous preview, their main reason for choosing a Japanese setting was because they were tired of seeing the Silent Hill franchise being too Western. So with Silent Hill F, they wanted the game to be 100% Japanese, starting from the story, the setting, and so on. And that's why they called in a renowned writer for psychological horror stories in Japan, Ryukishisan, or let's just say Ryukishisan. He's one of the famous writers who also created the very popular Higurashi When They Cry in Japan. Now in this game, we'll be playing as Hinako, a high school student who is actually just an ordinary student, but her life changes drastically when her town is hit by a mysterious force, and strange anomalies appear, such as sudden dense fog, weird monsters everywhere, and all the townspeople disappearing. Our main objective here is to find out what happened in that town. Why did the fog suddenly appear? Why are there many strange monsters, and much more? The bottom line is, our adventure here will provide a quite unique experience, since the game's writer is very skilled at using Japanese themes and school kids. The power of story and character. What makes the story more interesting, as I said, the writer for this game is Ryukishisan, who is already very famous in the Japanese visual novel world, especially regarding deep drama stories, and sometimes there are touches of romance. So here you can expect a little bit of a sweet yet tragic romantic touch within it. It's very Ryukishisan. Not cheesy, but it makes you relate and sometimes feel heartbroken. What I also like is that every character in this game has a very strong personality. Their emotions are clearly visible, and their relationship with Hinako is built slowly but effectively. So it's not just about adding characters randomly. Everyone feels like they have their own role. And the most important thing for those of you who have never played Silent Hill before, if there are any, don't worry, because the story of Silent Hill F is completely unconnected to other Silent Hill games. So you don't have to worry about being confused or having to play the old ones first. But if you are a diehard Silent Hill fan, there will be some small Easter eggs and references that you might notice. So you could say this game is very welcoming to newcomers, but still provides a touch of nostalgia for veterans. Japanese aesthetics and visuals. The Japanese theme in Silent Hill F is also one of its main appeals in my opinion, and honestly, it feels so fresh. The Silent Hill franchise is usually identified with the dark and oppressive vibes of a Western city, but now suddenly jumps to Japan in the 1960s. And this isn't just a random Japanese setting. It really feels authentically Japanese. I personally also love how they built the world in this game, from the design of the houses typical of the Showa era, the atmosphere of the small town, to small details like the 1960s style school uniforms. All of it successfully made me, who already loves Japanese culture, even more immersed in the world of Silent Hill F. Seriously, the aesthetics in this game are palpable. And hats off to Neobard Studio, who I think put in crazy effort to optimize a dense world while still running smoothly. Find the beauty in the terror. What impressed me even more is that they carried the tagline, "Find the beauty in the terror." At first, I thought it was just a gimmick tagline to sound cool, but it turns out the meaning really comes through in the gameplay. On one hand, you'll see a completely disturbing world. Red blood everywhere, scary monsters, vibes that make you uncomfortable. But on the other hand, there are moments where you feel like it's beautiful but strange, making you pause for a moment and think, this is beautiful, but it's also creepy. And that's not an easy thing to convey through visuals. But Neobard Studio succeeded in creating a world that can make you feel awe and fear at the same time. Incredible. Especially when we compare it to the Silent Hill 2 remake made by Bloober, which was already technically great and atmospheric,
But in my personal opinion, Silent Hill F managed to go a step further, especially in terms of visual identity and the more specific Japanese cultural theme. Hats off to the Neobard Studio developers. They not only showed that they are capable, but also that they can take this legendary franchise in a much more advanced direction with a much newer concept that is still relevant and cool. Good job, Neobard Studio.
Puzzles that make you think. Okay, now let's move on to the puzzles. Like most Silent Hill games, here too, you'll be given puzzles that force you to wander around the map looking for clues. The puzzle pieces will then become the key for us to unlock the path to the next stage. So far, I feel the puzzle pattern is still similar to other Silent Hill games. So for those who are already familiar, it will probably feel quite easy. But honestly, the puzzles can make you think quite a bit, especially for those who have never played a Silent Hill game before, because there are some pretty annoying puzzles, especially the ones that use poetry. I even had to ask my friend about the puzzle because I couldn't solve it. At first, I thought the answer would be complicated, going back and forth, but it wasn't that difficult. It was just me overthinking it. But relax, in this game, you can choose a separate difficulty level for the puzzles. Maybe for those of you who want more of a challenge in solving puzzles, you can choose the hard mode for puzzles to remove some clues and make the puzzle much more challenging. If I hadn't reviewed this with such a tight deadline, I probably would have used hard mode for the puzzles, because if you use story mode, the clues are really abundant, and I think it's less challenging. Intense combat mechanics. Okay, now let's discuss the combat mechanics, which I think feel significantly different compared to previous Silent Hill series. So, Silent Hill F still uses an over-the-shoulder camera, similar to the Silent Hill 2 remake yesterday. But what makes it different here is that this game heavily relies on melee combat, as in hack and slash, not shooting at all. Here we will be given many choices of weapons, starting from pipes, axes, sickles, hammers, to baseball bats. And all these weapons are not just different in shape, but they also have their own durability, plus different move sets. For example, if your weapon is heavy like a hammer, you can use it to block enemy attacks, but your swing will be much slower. So you have to be smart about finding the right timing when using weapons like that. Meanwhile, if you use a lighter weapon like a knife, a fast bat, it's good for just spamming the button. Unfortunately, the weapons break easily. I think this is a very fresh touch for the Silent Hill series. Usually this game leans more towards gunfight than puzzles, but now it is given a combat system that I think is quite complex and dynamic. It just makes hacking up monsters in this game more exciting. Here you will also be given upgrades for several important things like stamina, health or HP, and sanity. How do you upgrade? It's easy. Just go to a save point. There will be an option to increase your stats, but of course, it's not free. You need in-game money, and the way to get it is by collecting valuable items during exploration and then selling them. The proceeds from the sale give you currency that can be used to upgrade stats. For example, if you want to play by running a lot, then you just upgrade stamina. If you want to hack and slash face-to-face, then increase HP. Or if you like to counter or parry, then increase sanity. It's up to you. You just adjust it according to your playstyle. This upgrade system can also be used to increase the replayability of the game. So for those of you who want to play more than once, just increase the difficulty level, and you will get a much different experience, whether it's in terms of gameplay or the story. Yes, that's right. Silent Hill F has multiple endings that can change depending on how you play and complete the game. But relax, I won't spoil anything here regarding the multiple endings, so you can experience the story in its entirety yourself. User interface and sanity mechanic. Okay, now let's talk about the UI in the lower left corner. Maybe many of you are curious about the 3 new bars. Well, I'll explain them one by one. First, the round bar. That is weapon durability. And yes, all weapons in this game can break if you use them continuously. But don't worry, because there will be items that can replenish that durability. It's just that at high difficulty levels, it will be increasingly difficult to get those items. So you have to be smart about managing when to use weapons and when to run away and dodge to save your weapon. Second, there is a bar shaped like flowers above the item bar. It is called the Sanity bar, which is the level of sanity of our main character, Hinaoka. In my opinion, this is the most fresh feature in Silent Hill F. So this bar will be used when you enter focus mode, especially to perform a counterattack. So there's kind of a parry system. But if this bar is empty, Hinaoka will feel dizzy, unable to attack, and unable to move. So you have to keep this bar from running out. Fortunately, in easy difficulty, this bar can regenerate automatically, so it's not too stressful. But if you want it to be much more difficult, you just increase the difficulty to hard, and you might feel the Souls influence in the Silent Hill F game. Because you can't just use focus mode casually, you can't just attack, everything has to be calculated. Finally, there are the HP and stamina bars. These are standard, HP for life, and stamina for running and dodging.
Insane sound design. Now, there is one thing that really stuck in my head after playing this game until I finished it, and that is the sound design. This is insane, a god tier level in my opinion. I was previously shocked by the sound design in Silent Hill 2 Remake yesterday, which was worked on by Bloober. It was already very polished, but in Silent Hill F, Neobard Studio raised the standard even higher. Seriously, they are not messing around in providing an audio experience that makes my heart pound every second. Here, you can really feel sound coming from all directions, from the side, front, back, up to above your head, and that's not an exaggeration. It really felt like that through the headset. Sometimes there are faint whispers, sometimes soft footsteps in an empty place, and all of it gives an effect of terror that feels real. I even heard strange sounds several times and instinctively turned around, even though it was just in a game, Angier, just sound. But that's the power of proper sound design. They don't just make scary sounds, but they are also very smart at managing the timing and positioning of the sounds. So the impression of terror doesn't feel ordinary. It really works. You feel like you are always being watched, always being followed by something. And that really builds the tense atmosphere from the beginning of the game to the end. So I really respect Neobard Studio. They didn't just think about the visuals and gameplay, but also gave serious attention to sound design, which is a crucial part of a horror game. It's awesome. This is one of the best horror sound designs I've ever played. Drawbacks and conclusion. If we talk about drawbacks, in my personal opinion, there is only one. The play duration is quite short. On average, it seems to be finished in about 10 hours per playthrough, and that's quite fast, in my opinion, especially when the game is just getting exciting, it suddenly ends in Gier. Like, wait, why did it suddenly finish? Even though the game has multiple endings and high replayability, the feel is still different. Replaying it doesn't compare to the sensation of continuing an unfinished story. But it's okay, since the overall game is still solid, the story is dense, the gameplay is great, so even though it's short, it's still worth enjoying. So in conclusion, for me personally, Silent Hill F successfully provided me with the horror experience that is much more intense but also has a unique touch. One of the most noticeable differences here is that the game adopts a Japanese theme, complete with a story about a high school student living a complicated life. And it's not just about scary things, but there are also elements of drama and a little romance within it. But relax, the romance in this game is not cheap, cringy romance because Ryukishisan wrote it, Chewie. Don't worry, the romance is definitely good. From the combat side, this is also one of my favorite points because the main focus is now on melee combat, so the feel of the combat is much more intense. And this is a very bold move by Neobard Studio because, as we know, melee combat is indeed more difficult to make than gunfight. They have to think about the animation, attack timing, feedback. Everything has to feel satisfying so that players don't get bored and feel repetitive with the combat mechanics. And talking about visuals, this game is also top-notch. The atmosphere of 1960s Japan is clearly felt from the design of the buildings, the environment, to small details that make you feel like you were actually in that era. If you like horror games that have a detailed story and a gameplay that is different from usual, I'm sure you must try Silent Hill F, especially for those of you who like Japanese themes.